Terrorism, Justice, and the Near-Death Experience by V.T. Migliore. Used with permission by the author. What becomes of terrorists in the afterlife? A study of near-death experiences, NDEs, can shed light on the consequences of our behavior here on Earth. The reward for our actions is both simple and fair. Justice, you experience the effects your actions have had on others. Judgment and the life review seem to go hand in hand in many NDE reports. A theme in the life review is not that we are judged, but rather that we judge our own behavior. A curious occurrence in the life review is the ability to feel the effects of our actions on other people, and this seems to be the cornerstone of the judgment. Here we see a woman who played a cruel trick on a friend, and how it played out during the life review.
I saw my entry into the world, one childhood memory after another, as distinct and as clear as if each were really happening. Most things were pleasant to see, some things made me very embarrassed. In fact, revolution and guilt took away any good feelings, making me so very sorry for certain things I had said or done. I hadn't just seen what I had done, but I felt and knew the repercussions of my actions. I felt the injury or pain of those who suffered because of my selfish or inappropriate behavior.
She goes on to relate an incident where she played a cruel trick on a young man.
I never gave this incident a moment of thought after it had happened. But, during the review of my life, I was grieved to see how totally selfish, thoughtless and downright cruel I had been. I felt his complete panic and fear, and his change as he became less trusting. I was sickened. I had such total guilt that I tried to pull my view away. I was being pounded with the fears, pain, injuries, and anger I had caused in others, and the repercussions that had been passed on and on.
From the archives of the International Association of Near-Death Studies, file All is Everything. This case illustrates another judgment based on the life review.
The light responded, "The question is not who am I, but who are you?" Before I could reply, a series of images and experiences flashed across my vision. This was, by analogy, like a projector displaying images on a flat screen. There were two distinct differences, however. The first difference was that the images were non-sequential, for example, they were not in any specific order. The second difference was that I could feel, think, see, hear and experience the emotions, thoughts, feelings and experiences of everyone I had ever come in either direct or non-direct contact with. If you can imagine a series of dominoes cascading downward like water down staggered steps, then this was the experience of being other people and experiencing both the intended and unintended effects of my contact with them. This was not in any way, shape or form a pleasant experience. I saw a multitude of opportunities to help people and be loving and kind, but in most instances I chose to ignore these opportunities and instead focus solely on myself. This was very unsettling to say the least. All throughout this review process, however, the only entity which judged me was myself. The light did not interject any judgment for or against my earthly actions, or inactions. The only thing the light did was to pause some scenes and ask me what I thought about my action. According to the light, the most extraordinary moments of life are not framed by money, work, drugs, alcohol, possessions or self-gratifying behaviors. Indeed, what we consider trivial actions are highlighted as the most significant of our lives.
From the archives of the International Association of Near-Death Studies, file Unborn. One of the most striking accounts comes from a bully who abused other students.
The first thing I saw was my angry childhood. I saw myself torturing other children, stealing their bicycles or making them miserable at school. One of the most vivid scenes was at the time I picked on a child at grade school because he had a goiter that protruded from his neck. The other kids in the class picked on him too, but I was the worst. At the time I thought I was funny. But now, as I relived this incident, I found myself in his body, living with the pain that I was causing. This perspective continued through every negative incident in my childhood, a substantial number to be sure. From 5th to 12th grade, I estimate I had at least 6,000 fistfights. Now, as I reviewed my life in the bosom of the being, I relived each of those altercations, but with one major difference: I was the receiver.
Quotation from Saved by the Light, by Daniel Brinkley. Now, apply that consequence to terrorist actions. Let's say a terrorist kills 10 people. First, the terrorist, in the afterlife, will experience the terror he caused for his victims. All 10 of them. He will feel the fear and the pain of the execution. Second, he will find himself on the receiving end of the sadness that he generates in the lives of the victim's family members left behind. The family will grieve for many years over the loss of this loved one. The terrorist will endure the same amount of pain. He will find himself in the body of the friends and co-workers of each victim and get to evaluate the effects his terrorism has on them. He will feel the lifelong emptiness that he generates in the children of his victims. Justice dictates that you experience the effects your actions have had on other people. I don't expect there will be a parade of virgins waiting for the perpetrator. On the other hand, loving behavior has its rewards too. It's clear that our actions influence those we interact with, but the effects are often positive as well. In the Betty Eady case, the negative acts exposed in her life review were causing her grief when Jesus intervened.
"You are being too harsh on yourself," he said. Then he showed me the reverse side of the ripple effect. I saw myself perform an act of kindness, just a simple act of unselfishness, and I saw the ripples go out again. The friend I had been kind to was kind in turn to one of her friends, and the chain repeated itself. I saw love and happiness increase in others' lives because of that one simple act on my part. I saw their happiness grow and affect their lives in positive ways, some significantly. I felt the love they felt, and I felt their joy.
Quotation from Embraced by the Light, by Betty Eady. What is justice then, but to feel the effects of those we have touched? V.T. Migliore is author of A Measure of Heaven, now out of print.